Some men measure their wealth in dollars. Russell Phoenix would learn to measure his in the heartbeats he had never heard. The elevator doors opened on the wrong floor. Russell had pressed 4, cardiac intensive care, where his mother lay fighting for her life. But his thumb had slipped, numb from gripping his phone too hard, and he had hit 3 instead. Maternity. The smell hit him first. That particular combination of antiseptic and new life, of hope packaged in powder blue and pink balloons. He should have turned back immediately, hit the button, and corrected his mistake. But something made him walk forward instead. Muscle memory, maybe, or fate wearing the costume of coincidence. He walked past rooms of exhausted joy, past fathers holding bundles like they contained the universe's secrets, past grandmothers crying into their hands. Room 447 stood at the end of the corridor, door slightly ajar. Through the window, Russell Phoenix saw the end of his world. Julia Bry sat in a hospital bed, her dark hair pulled back in a way he remembered from 1,000 mornings. But everything else had changed. In her arms, she cradled an infant. No, 3 infants. 3 separate bassinets surrounded her bed, and as he watched, frozen in the doorway across the hall, she lifted each tiny body in turn, kissing foreheads with a tenderness that stabbed him somewhere below his ribs. Triplets. His legs stopped working. His breath stopped working. Time seemed to rebel against moving forward, because forward meant understanding, and understanding meant facing what he had done. Julia looked different, thinner, older, carved down to something essential. There were shadows under her eyes that had not been there before, a hardness in her jaw that spoke of survival rather than living. But when she looked down at those 3 babies, her face transformed into something he thought he had destroyed forever. Pure, uncomplicated love. A nurse walked past him, chart in hand, and Russell pressed himself against the wall like a criminal. "Congratulations to the mother," the nurse said to someone down the hall. 3 healthy girls after everything she went through. Miracle she and the babies survived, honestly. 3 girls. Russell's mind raced backward. The divorce had been final for over a year now. Before that, weeks of paperwork and lawyers. Before that, the night he had come home and destroyed everything. The last time he had touched his wife had been the night before that confession, when things were already broken, but neither of them knew it yet. The realization hit him like a physical blow. These were his daughters. These 3 lives existed because of a moment he had been too selfish to honor, too broken to preserve. Julia shifted in the bed, and Russell's body made the decision his mind could not. He stepped back, then back again, then turned and walked quickly toward the elevator. His hand shook so badly that it took 3 tries to hit the button. The doors opened. He stepped inside, pressed 4. The cardiac unit greeted him with beeping monitors and the smell of fear. His mother, Delene Phoenix, lay in room 408, hooked to machines that kept her heart beating in rhythm. She looked smaller under the white sheets than he had ever seen her. The surgeon said it had been 6 hours of surgery, and it went well. Said she would recover if the infection did not set in. Russell collapsed into the chair beside her bed and put his head in his hands. "Mom," he whispered to her unhearing ears. "Mom, I found her. I found Julia. And there are 3 babies, 3 daughters, mine. They have to be mine, and she never told me. And I do not know what to do." Delene's monitors beeped their steady rhythm. Her chest rose and fell. The machines breathed for her because her body had forgotten how. "What do I do?" Russell asked for silence. A nurse came in to check vitals, smiled sympathetically at what she must have assumed was a devoted son, and left. The clock on the wall said 8:15. The sun setting through the window painted everything orange and gold, the colors of endings. Russell sat there as the light died and darkness crept in. His phone buzzed 17 times, messages from people who thought they mattered, who wanted pieces of him for reasons that felt distant and meaningless now. He ignored them all. At some point, he walked to the window and looked down at the parking lot. Julia Bry was learning how to be a mother somewhere in this building. His 3 daughters were learning to breathe somewhere above, below, or beside him. He pressed his forehead against the cold glass and closed his eyes. The glass fogged with his breath, cleared, fogged again. Breathing seemed simple until you thought about it too hard and realized how much could go wrong with each inhale, each exhale. How much could be lost between one breath and the next? Sir, a different nurse stood in the doorway. Visiting hours end in 30 minutes. Russell nodded without turning around. Can we call someone for you? You could use some support. No, Russell said. There is no one. The nurse hesitated, then left. Russell heard her soft-soled shoes squeaking away down the corridor, heard the distant crying of an infant from somewhere in the building, and listened to his own heart beating too fast in his chest. He returned to his mother's bedside and sat down heavily, took her hand. It felt papery and cold despite the warm room. I do not know what to do, he said again. I do not have the right to do anything. I destroyed her, Mom. I looked at the woman who gave me everything and decided she was insufficient. What kind of man does that? Deline's face remained slack, peaceful. The machines answered for her. Beep, beep, beep. The mathematics of a heart trying to remember its purpose. Russell stayed until security came to clear the floor. He walked out of the hospital into the parking lot, found his car, a stupidly expensive thing that meant nothing now, and sat in the driver's seat with the door open. The hospital glowed behind him, windows lit up like a vertical city. Somewhere in those lights, Julia was feeding babies, changing them, learning their cries and what each one meant, doing everything alone because he had made sure she had no choice. He sat there for 6 hours. The parking lot emptied around him. The night shift arrived. The lights in some windows went dark while others blazed to life. The emergency entrance saw its parade of ambulances, panic and love arriving too late or just in time. Russell sat in his car and could not make himself leave, could not make himself stay. He could not do anything but breathe and remember and calculate the exact weight of his failures. Dawn started breaking somewhere to the east. The sky went from black to gray to that shade of blue that promises hope or just another day, depending on what you were looking for. Russell finally closed his car door and put his key in the ignition. His hands shook so badly that he dropped the keys twice before starting the engine. He drove out of the parking lot and onto the streets just beginning to wake up. Drove past coffee shops opening doors, joggers starting their routines, and newspaper delivery trucks making their rounds. Drove through a city that was continuing like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Russell Phoenix had 3 daughters whose first breaths he had not witnessed. He had no right to claim 3 daughters. 3 daughters who existed because of him and despite him in equal measure. He drove home to his empty penthouse and stood in the shower until the water ran cold, trying to wash away the knowledge that would not leave him. He stood dripping on expensive tile in a costly bathroom in an expensive apartment that meant absolutely nothing. His phone sat on the marble counter, silent now. He picked it up, opened the browser, and typed Mercy General Hospital, Maternity Ward into the search bar. His finger hovered over the call button. He did not press it. Instead, he set the phone down, walked to his bedroom, lay on top of the covers, fully dressed, stared at the ceiling, watched the sun rise through his floor-to-ceiling windows, and painted his failures in shades of gold. Julia Bry held 3 babies somewhere across the city and did not know he knew. He did not know he had seen her and did not think he was lying here, trying to figure out how to deserve even one moment of their lives. The sun climbed higher, the day began. Russell did not move. His phone buzzed one more time. A reminder about something he was supposed to do, someone he was supposed to meet, some obligation that belonged to a version of him that no longer existed. He closed his eyes and saw 3 bassinets, saw Julia's face as she kissed 3 foreheads, saw the entire future he destroyed before it even began. Russell did not sleep. Sleep required peace or exhaustion, and he had neither, only the grinding loop of memory playing behind his eyes. He returned to the hospital before 7. His mother was still unconscious, still breathing through machines. The surgeon had said recovery would take days. Russell pulled the chair close to her bed. "I need to tell you something," he said to her, closing his eyes. "I need to say it out loud because if I do not, I think it will kill me." The machines beeped their steady response. Outside the window, the city went about its business. "Do you remember when I first brought Julia home?" Russell's voice cracked. "You opened the door, and she was so nervous she could not stop talking. Told you about her grandmother who raised her, about the violin, about how she had been alone for so long. He wiped his eyes. You pulled her into a hug before she had even finished introducing herself. Said, "Any girl who makes my boy smile like that does not need to be nervous in this house." She cried right there in the doorway. You just held her and told her she was family now. The memory felt like swallowing glass. We got married in your backyard, Russell continued. We could not afford a real venue. Julia wore a white dress from a consignment shop and carried flowers from your garden. When I saw her walking toward me, Mom, I thought my heart would stop. She looked at me like I was worth something and good. He pressed his hands against his eyes. We lived in that apartment on Riverside. Julia taught violin lessons to kids after school, played weddings on weekends, worked at the diner on nights a week, and never complained. She would come home exhausted, with blisters on her fingers from playing, and she would still ask about my day, still want to hear about my designs. The machines kept their rhythm, beep, beep, beep. I was trying to build something, Russell said. You remember the prototype? I was so sure it would work, but no one would listen. I pitched to many people who looked at me like I was wasting their time. He shifted in the chair. Julia believed anyway. When I wanted to quit, she would not let me. She said, "You are going to change things, Russell." I know you are. She sold her grandmother's china set to buy me materials, ate rice and canned vegetables so I could have protein. She sacrificed everything while I chased this dream. Russell stood, started pacing, and then it worked. The prototype tested perfectly. I got funding. Everything exploded. Suddenly, I was going to galas and dinners and meetings with important people. And Julia was still Julia, still teaching kids, wearing thrift store clothes, and coming home tired. The city below looked cold and gray. People started making comments, Russell said quietly. Your wife did not come to the dinner. Julia seems uncomfortable at these events. Little things made me start seeing her through different eyes. Russell turned back to his mother. I started feeling ashamed of the woman who had given me everything. I would see her at parties trying to converse with people who looked right through her, and instead of being angry at them, I was embarrassed by her. His voice broke. There was a conference. I got set up for dinner, and afterward we went to the hotel bar. There was a woman there. I do not even remember her name, Mom. I destroyed my marriage for a woman whose name I do not remember. He sank back into the chair. I slept with her, betrayed everything Julia and I had built, and the worst part was that I felt powerful doing it. I was finally the kind of man who could have affairs, expensive suits, and a life that did not smell like thrift stores and sacrifice. The confession hung in the air like smoke. I came home and told her. I do not know why. Maybe I wanted her to leave me so I would not have to be the villain. Perhaps I just wanted to hurt her because I had already hurt myself. I said, Julia, I slept with someone else, and I think we should get divorced. Just like that, cold. And do you know what she did? She just looked at me, did not cry, did not scream, just looked at me for a long time, then nodded and said, okay. Russell's shoulders shook. That was it. Okay. She moved out that week. The divorce papers came soon after. She signed everything, did not fight for anything, just signed and left. He wiped his eyes. I thought I would feel free, but I felt empty, like I had taken everything good in my life and set it on fire to watch it burn. The machines kept their steady count. The sun climbed higher in the sky. And now I know, Russell whispered. She was pregnant when I did that to her, carrying our daughters when I said I wanted a divorce, growing 3 lives inside her body while I was destroying the life we had built together. He lay his head on the edge of her bed. What do I do, Mom? How do I fix this? Deline did not answer. The machines responded instead. Beep, beep, beep. Russell stayed until a nurse came to check his vitals, walked out into the hallway in a daze. He found himself at the information desk. Maternity ward, he said. There was a woman, Julia Bry. She had triplets, 3 girls. The volunteer smiled warmly. Oh yes, Wren, Sparrow, and Lark. Bird names for all 3. The mother said her grandmother was a bird expert. Russell gripped the edge of the desk. Bird names? He repeated. Yes, is that not lovely? No, Russell said. I am nobody, He walked away, found himself in front of room 447 again, but the door was closed now and the blinds were drawn. He stood there for minutes, hand raised to knock before forcing himself to leave. Bird names. Julia had once told him that she would name them after birds if they ever had daughters. So they will always know how to fly, she had said, so they will never feel trapped. She had named their daughters to fly away, away from him, away from the cage he had built with his selfishness and shame. Russell walked out of the hospital into the cold morning air, got in his car and sat there, hands on the steering wheel, going nowhere. Finally, he drove. No destination, just movement, because staying still meant thinking. He ended up at their old apartment on Riverside. The building looked the same, still shabby and home to people scraping by. He sat across the street and stared at the third-floor window where they had lived. That window had been their world once. Behind that glass, Julia had made dinner on a hot plate. Behind that glass, they danced to music from a radio station with only 3 stations. Behind that glass, they talked about futures that felt impossible and perfect. Russell put his head on the steering wheel and finally let himself break. Delene woke on the 3rd day. Russell was there when her eyes opened. When she tried to speak around the breathing tube, the nurses came quickly, checked monitors, and adjusted things. When they removed the tube, the first thing she said was, "Your face looks like death. What happened?" Russell had rehearsed 100 ways to tell her. "I saw Julia. She had 3 babies, triplets. They are mine, Mom, and she never told me." Delene closed her eyes. "I know." The room tilted. "What?" "Julia told me the day before she signed the divorce papers. She was 6 weeks pregnant. She looked so broken standing in my doorway. Why did you not tell me?" "Because she begged me not to," Delene said. "She told me everything. How she realized if she told you, you would stay out of obligation, not love. She would not bring them into a home where their father resented their existence. She was protecting me. After what I did, she was protecting those children," Delene corrected. "She said she loved you too much to watch you hate yourself for staying." "I need to see her." "You need to think," Delene interrupted. "What are you going to do? Storm in and demand your rights? Throw money at her. She just gave birth to 3 children alone. Your guilt is not her emergency." Russell sank into the chair. "So I do nothing. Figure out what kind of man you want those 3 girls to know," Delene said. "You may be ready to face Julia. You broke something precious. You have to earn the right even to hold the pieces." Russell drove home in the fog, realized he did not know Julia's address, did not know her phone number. She did not know anything except that she was somewhere alone with 3 babies. He hired a private investigator, then canceled before the man responded. He could not violate Julia that way. A hospital bill arrived at his penthouse. Julia's bill, over $100,000. The address listed a women's shelter. He drove there and parked across the street. The building was gray and institutional with bars on the windows. He watched for days. On the 8th day, he saw her. Julia walked out, pushing a triple stroller that looked barely functional. She was thinner, exhausted, moving like someone who had not slept in weeks. She looked like she had been through a war. Russell's hand was on the door handle, but he watched her struggle down the steps, thanked the security guard, and walked away. He drove in the opposite direction. That night, he paid her hospital bill anonymously. 2 days later, a cashier's check for the full amount arrived. No note, just his money returned. Julia did not want his guilt money, did not want anything from him. He tried anyway. Anonymous apartment listings, baby supplies, scholarship applications. Everything got rejected or returned. Russell started therapy. Dr. Calloway re-listened to his story, then said, "What do you want from me?" "I want to know how to fix this." "You cannot fix destroying someone's trust," Dr. Ree said flatly. "Forgiveness is not something you earn. It is a gift she is not obligated to give. Figure out what kind of man you are, then decide if that man is someone those 3 girls deserve to know." Russell came back every week. Meanwhile, Julia stayed in the shelter, worked night shifts, slept 3 hours, and ate whatever the shelter provided. Russell drove by, watched from a distance, and never approached. One morning, he saw Temperance arrive and Julia cry on the front steps while Temperance held her. Russell gripped his steering wheel and stayed in the car. 3 weeks later, the hospital called. His mother was being discharged. He brought her home, hired nurses, and spent nights telling her everything he was learning about himself. "I was ashamed of being poor," he said. "I made Julia pay for my shame. I could not stand that she had seen me at my lowest." "Maybe it is too late for you and Julia," Deline said, "but those 3 babies deserve a father. Not the one you were, but the one you could become." 2 days later, a letter arrived. Memorial service instructions for Deline Phoenix, specifying that Julia Bry should be invited. "You planned your funeral to force us together?" Russell asked. "I planned for contingencies," Deline said. "Now get me some water." 3 nights later, Russell woke to machines screaming, nurses running, second massive heart attack. He rode in the ambulance, begging her to stay. She died at 4 in the morning, quiet, peaceful, gone. The funeral was scheduled for Saturday. Russell waited for Julia's response. It came on Thursday, a single line. "I will be there for Deline, not for you." Russell spent the days leading up to the funeral in a numb haze. He arranged flowers, selected hymns his mother had loved, and wrote a eulogy that felt inadequate. Every task was a distraction from the looming confrontation with Julia. He had not seen her since the divorce, had not spoken to her since that cold confession in their living room. Now she would be in the same room, mourning the same woman, and he had no idea what to say. The night before, he barely slept, pacing his penthouse, rehearsing words that never sounded right. "I am sorry, it seemed too small. I want to be part of their lives, but it felt presumptuous." In the end, he decided to say nothing unless she spoke first. Let her set the terms, as she always had, since he shattered everything. Saturday morning dawned clear and cold. Russell arrived at the funeral home early and checked every detail twice. The casket was closed, as Deline had requested. Photos of her life lined the walls. Young Deline with her husband, Russell, as a child, and family gatherings. No pictures of Julia, though she had been part of those for years. He wondered if Julia would notice, if it would hurt her. People began arriving, old friends, neighbors, distant relatives. Russell greeted them mechanically, accepting condolences with nods and thanks. His eyes kept drifting to the door, waiting. At precisely 10, Julia walked in alone. No babies, no one with her. She wore a simple black dress that hung loosely on her frame, shoes scuffed from use. Her hair was tied back, face pale but composed. She went straight to the casket and stood there silently, hands clasped. Russell watched from across the room, his heart pounding. After a long moment, she reached into her purse and pulled out a violin bow, old and worn, the horsehair frayed at the edges. She placed it gently on the casket lid, her fingers lingering as if saying goodbye. "Deline bought me my first professional bow," Julia said softly, sensing his presence behind her. "I was 16, living with my grandmother above the music store. I had saved for months, but it was not enough. Deline heard me practicing one day and just bought it for me. $800, like it was nothing. Said I could not make real music with inadequate tools." Russell swallowed hard. "Julia," she turned to face him, eyes dry but shadowed. "That bow got me through auditions, my first symphony job, and our wedding." Her voice caught on the last word. "Do not," Russell whispered. "Please." Julia straightened. "I came for her, not you. She was the mother I never had after Grandma died. She loved me even after you did not." The words landed like blows, but Russell stood still. "The babies are with a friend. I cannot stay long, afternoon feeding." "Please," Russell said, his voice breaking. "Just talk to me." "For what?" Julia asked, her tone flat. "So, you can apologize? Explain? I do not have time for your regret. I have 3 infants who need me constantly, a job that barely covers formula. Zero energy for this. I paid the hospital bill," Russell blurted, immediately regretting it. Julia laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "Of course you did, and I sent it back. Did you think money would fix this? Buy forgiveness? I was helping. You were easing your conscience," Julia snapped. "Keep it. Keep everything." She turned to leave. "They are mine, are they not? The triplets." Julia paused in the doorway. "Biologically, yes. In every way that counts, No, I have rights. Rights? Julia's voice rose. You talk about rights? You were not there for the pregnancy, the bed rest, the delivery, where I almost died. You were not there for any of it. So please do not lecture me on rights. I did not know, because I chose not to tell you, Julia said. You made it clear I was an embarrassment. Our life was something to escape. I protected them from a father who would resent them. Russell felt the world spin. I would not have. You would, Julia said. They would feel it. Children always do. So I took the choice away. A few mourners arrived, glancing curiously. Julia lowered her voice. I have to go. Can I see them, just once? Julia studied him. Why? To check a box? Say you tried? Because they are my daughters, Russell pleaded. I need to know they are okay. They are fine, Julia said coldly. They have a mother who would die for them. That is enough. She walked to her car, an old model with dents and cracks, paused at the door. Your mother made me promise something before surgery. To give you one chance, not because you deserve it, but because she believed in you. Julia started the engine. I do not know if I can keep that promise, but for her, I will try. She drove off, leaving Russell alone in the lot as more cars pulled in. He returned inside and went through the motions of the service. Delivered a fumbling eulogy about his mother's belief in change. People clapped politely. Afterward, Julia was gone. Russell buried his mother alone, in every sense that mattered. The days after blurred into grief and resolve. He threw himself into therapy, unpacking years of shame. Dr. Ree pushed him hard. You cannot buy redemption, you earn it by becoming better. Russell nodded, committed. He would wait for Julia's signal, prove himself worthy of that one chance. For now, he lived with the silence, the weight of what he had lost. Julia arrived at the funeral home alone, no babies, no temperance, just her, wearing a black dress that looked borrowed and shoes that had seen too many miles. She walked through the doors at exactly 10 in the morning. The service started at 10:30 and went directly to the closed casket. Russell watched from across the room. He had arrived at 8 to make sure everything was perfect. He had spent 2 hours arranging chairs, checking flower placements, and doing anything to avoid thinking about what would happen when Julia walked in. Now she was here, and he could not breathe. She stood in front of Delene's casket for a long time. Then she opened her purse and pulled something out, a violin bow, old, worn, the horsehair frayed. She placed it gently on top of the casket, her hand lingering there momentarily. Delene bought me my first professional bow, Julia said without turning around. Russell realized she knew he was watching. I lived with my grandmother above the music store when I was 16. I had been playing on a student bow for years, saving for a real one. Delene came into the store one day, heard me playing, and bought the bow right there. $800, just handed it to me and said, "You cannot make music like that with inadequate tools." She finally turned to face him. Her eyes were dry but devastated. That bow carried me through every important performance of my life. My conservatory audition, my first professional symphony, my wedding. Russell's throat closed. Julia, do not, she said quietly. Do not say anything. I came because I loved your mother. She was the only mother I ever had after my grandmother died. She was kind to me when I had no one. And when you destroyed our marriage, she did not stop loving me, even when she probably should have, to make things easier on you. She walked past him toward the door. The babies are with Temperance. I need to get back before the afternoon feeding. I cannot stay for the service. Please, Russell said. Please wait. Julia stopped, did not turn around. For what? So you can apologize again. So you can explain why you are suddenly interested in being a father. I do not have time for your guilt, Russell. I have 3 infants who need me every 2 hours. I have a job that barely pays for formula. I have precisely 0 energy for whatever this is. I paid your hospital bill, Russell said. The words came out desperate and wrong. Julia laughed, actually laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. I know, I sent it back. Did you really think I would not know? Could you throw money at this and make yourself feel better? I was trying to help. You were trying to buy absolution, Julia interrupted, finally turning to face him. And I am not selling. Keep your money, keep your guilt, keep whatever fantasy you have built where you get to play hero in this story. She started walking again. Russell followed. "They are mine, are they not? The babies, they are my daughters." Julia stopped in the parking lot. The morning sun was too bright, too cheerful for this conversation. "Biologically, yes. In any way that matters, no. I have rights." "Rights?" Julia's voice went sharp. "You want to talk about rights? You were not there when I found out I was pregnant. You were not there when I worked until I collapsed because I had no choice. You were not there when I spent 8 weeks in bed rest in a hospital alone, praying they would survive. You were not there when they cut them out of me, and I nearly bled to death on that table. You were not there for their first breath, cry, or anything. So please do not stand there and talk to me about rights. I did not know because I did not tell you," Julia said. "And I did not tell you because you had made it very clear that I was an embarrassment, that our marriage was something you needed to escape, that the life we had built was something to be ashamed of. So I made a choice. I chose to protect my daughters from growing up watching their father resent their existence." Russell felt like he was drowning. "I would not have." "Yes, you would have," Julia said flatly. "Maybe not consciously, maybe not on purpose, but you would have seen the trap that caught you every time you looked at them. The obligation that forced you to stay with the woman you were too ashamed to keep. They would have felt that, Russell. Children always think that. So I took that choice away from you." A car pulled into the parking lot. Other mourners are arriving. Julia glanced at them, then back at Russell. "I need to go. Can I see them?" The question came out broken. "Please, just once, I want to see them." Julia studied his face for a long moment. "Why? So you can tell yourself you tried. You can check a box that says you attempted to be a father." "Because they are my daughters," Russell said, "and I know I have no right to them. I know I destroyed everything. But they exist, Julia. They are real, and I need to see them. I need to know they are okay." "They are fine," Julia said coldly. "They have a mother who would die for them. That is more than enough." She walked to her car. It was 15 years old, with a dent in the driver's side and a crack across the windshield. She opened the door, then paused. "Your mother made me promise something before she went into surgery. She made me promise that if anything happened to her, I would give you a chance, one chance. Not because you deserve it, but because she believed you could become someone who did." Julia got in the car. "I do not know if I can keep that promise, but I am going to try for her, not for you." She started the engine. Russell stood there helplessly. "What do I need to do?" "Figure out who you actually are," Julia said through the open window. "Not the man who betrayed me, not the man drowning in guilt. The real you underneath all the performance. Then we can talk, maybe." She drove away, leaving Russell standing in the parking lot as other cars pulled in around him. People getting out, dressed in black, coming to mourn their mother. People who would expect him to deliver a eulogy, shake hands, and accept condolences. Russell walked back inside. The funeral home staff had everything ready. The flowers were perfect. The chairs were arranged. The program he had written listed Delyn's accomplishments and the people who loved her. The bow still rested on top of the casket. People started arriving. Delyn's friends from church, neighbors from the old house, former colleagues. They hugged Russell, told him how sorry they were, and shared memories of his mother. Russell stood there, nodded, thanked them, and felt empty. When it was time for the service to begin, everyone took their seats. Russell walked to the front and looked at 50 people waiting for him to say something meaningful about loss, love, and the woman who had raised him. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The silence stretched. People shifted uncomfortably. Russell looked down at the notes he had prepared. All the right words were there, all the appropriate sentiments about life and death and cherishing memories. "My mother," he finally said, "believed people could change. She thought it even when the evidence suggested otherwise. She believed it about me even after I gave her every reason not to." He paused, took a breath. "I destroyed something precious because I was ashamed of being loved by someone who had seen me at my worst. My mother tried to teach me that being seen, being truly known, was a gift. But I did not understand that until it was too late." Someone in the back coughed. "Until I had thrown away everything that mattered." Russell kept going. "She kept loving me anyway, even when I did not deserve it, even when loving me probably hurt. She kept believing I could become someone worth believing in." His voice cracked. I do not know if I can, but I will try because that is what she would have wanted me to try instead of just talking about trying. He could not say anything else, just stood there looking at his mother's casket with a violin bow on top, and felt the weight of every mistake he had ever made pressing down on his shoulders. Someone started clapping, then another person, then the whole room. Russell did not understand why. He had barely said anything, had fumbled through the worst eulogy in history. But they were clapping anyway, for his honesty maybe, or for Deline, who had raised a son who could still somehow manage to be honest when it mattered. The rest of the service passed in a blur. People spoke, they sang hymns, they shared memories. Russell stood and sat when prompted, and felt like he was watching himself from afar. Afterward, he saw Julia's car still in the parking lot. She was sitting in the driver's seat, engine off, watching him through the windshield. Russell walked over slowly. She rolled down the window. "That was the worst eulogy I have ever heard," she said, "and also the most honest." "I don't know how to do this," Russell admitted. "Any of this, being a father, facing you, becoming someone different. I don't have a plan, strategy, or idea what I am doing." Julia looked at him for a long time. "Your mother told me something once." She said, "The difference between a good man and an evil man is not whether he makes mistakes. It is whether he is willing to face what those mistakes cost." She started her engine. The car sputtered, coughed, caught. "You want a chance, fine, one chance. But it is on my terms. You do not get to decide how this goes. You do not get to show up with money, grand gestures, or explanations. You show up when I say. You do what I say. You accept whatever scraps I am willing to give you. And if you miss even once or disappoint me even once, you are done forever. Understand?" Russell nodded. "I understand. Come to my address on Saturday morning, 10 sharp, not 9:59, not 10:01, 10. She handed him a piece of paper with an address written on it. "And, Russell, do not bring anything. No gifts, no money, no apologies, just you." She drove away. The car backfired as it left the parking lot. Russell stood there holding the paper like a life raft, one chance. Russell spent the week in sustained panic. He bought books about infants, watched videos about holding babies, feeding them, changing diapers, and took notes like he was studying for the most important exam of his life. Dr. Ree said, "You know this is not a test you can study for, right?" "I have to do this perfectly," Russell said. "I cannot mess this up." "You are going to mess it up," Dr. Ree said calmly, multiple times. That is parenting. The question is whether you will keep trying after you fail. Russell did not sleep on Friday night. Saturday morning he stood in front of his closet trying to decide what to wear. Everything screamed money. He settled on jeans and a plain shirt. No watch, no jewelry. The address led him to a neighborhood he did not recognize. Buildings that needed paint and repair. Cars that ran on hope. Julia's apartment was on the second floor of a building that looked like it should have been condemned. He climbed the exterior stairs, which were cracked and had wobbly railings. He knocked at exactly 10. Julia opened it immediately. "Come in quietly. They are all sleeping." The apartment was tiny, one room serving as a bedroom, a living room, and a kitchen. A bathroom visible through a partially open door. 3 cribs crammed against one wall. Laundry in the corner. Dishes in the sink. Formula smell and exhaustion. This was where his daughters lived. "Sit," Julia said, pointing to a chair at a table that seated 2. She sat across from him. Between them, 3 cribs holding 3 sleeping infants. Russell's throat closed. He could see them now, really see them. 3 tiny humans, each wrapped in mismatched blankets. One had his nose, another had his mouth, the third had his hands. "Their names are Wren, Sparrow, and Lark," Julia said quietly. "Wren is the oldest by 2 minutes. Sparrow was the smallest. They worried about her at first. Lark was last. She got stuck during delivery. They had to." Julia stopped. "They got her out. She is fine now." Russell could not speak, could not do anything but stare at 3 cribs. "You can look at them," Julia said. "Do not touch, just look." Russell stood carefully, walked to the first crib. Wren, bigger than the other 2, has dark hair like Julia's, and his nose is dark. She made small noises in her sleep. Second crib. Sparrow, more petite, delicate. A small tube ran to her nose. Oxygen. Third crib, Lark. She slept with her arms above her head, hands clenched into fists. She had Julia's mouth and his eyebrows, a small scar on her shoulder. "They are beautiful," Russell whispered. "They are mine," Julia said from behind him. "Not yours. Mine. I have earned them. You are here because I am allowing it, because your mother asked me to." Russell turned to face her. "I understand. Do you?" Julia asked. "I have been doing this alone for months. I have learned how to feed 3 babies at once, change 3 diapers in under 10 minutes, and survive on 2 hours of sleep. I did all that while you were living in your penthouse, feeling sorry for yourself." "Yes," Russell said, "I understand." "I do not think you do," Julia said. "You want to be a father. It is not going to be convenient. It will not fit your schedule or make you feel good about yourself." She stood, walked to the cribs. "I do not trust you at all. You will try for a few weeks, decide it is too hard, and disappear. And I am letting you do it anyway because Deline asked me to. So this is your one chance, your only chance. Please do not waste it." "I will not," Russell said. "Here are the rules. 1 hour per week, Saturday mornings, 10 to 11. You come here. You do not bring anything. No gifts, no money, no apologies. You interact with the babies under my supervision. You leave when I tell you. You miss 1 week, you are done forever." "Understood," Russell said. "Your hour starts now." Russell stood there. Julia waited. After a moment, she said, "I will not tell you what to do. Figure it out." One of the babies started crying. Ren went from sleeping to screaming in seconds. Russell looked at Julia. Julia looked back expressionless. "She is hungry," Julia said. "Bottles are in the kitchen. Figure it out." Russell found bottles in the fridge. They were cold. "Do I warm it? Do you think babies drink cold milk?" Russell found a pot, filled it with water, set it on the hot plate, put the bottle in, and waited. Ren screamed louder. The water heated slowly. Russell tested the bottle. Too cold. Waited. Tested again. Still cold. Ren was going hoarse. Finally warm. Russell took it to the crib, picked Ren up carefully, tried to give her the bottle. She turned away. Screamed louder. Russell tried again. She knocked the bottle from his hand. It fell. Milk spilling. "Clean that up," Julia said. "There is another bottle in the fridge." Russell put Ren back. She screamed harder, cleaned up, and got another bottle. Started heating again. His hands were shaking. Ren's cries had woken Sparrow. The second bottle took forever. Both babies are screaming. Finally ready. Russell picked up Ren, positioned her differently, and offered the bottle. She took it. Finally, Russell exhaled in relief. "She is eating too fast," Julia said. "You have to burp her halfway through." Russell had no idea how. He tried patting her back. Ren choked, spat up, and started screaming again. The bottle fell. Sparrow's crying intensified. Now Lark was waking. 3 babies are crying. Russell stood holding a screaming infant with no idea what to do. "Your hour is almost up," Julia said. She stood, took Ren from him. Within seconds, the baby calmed. Julia fed her efficiently, burped her, and settled her. Then she did the same with Sparrow and Lark. 3 babies were all fed and content in 15 minutes. Russell stood covered in spit-up, exhausted, defeated. "I do not know how you do this," he said. "Practice," Julia said, "and necessity. You learn fast when there is no one else." She put the last baby down. "Your hour is up. Leave." Russell walked to the door and turned back. "Julia, save it," she said. "See you next Saturday, 10 sharp." He left, walked down the stairs to his car, sat in the driver's seat and put his head on the steering wheel. He had failed. 1 baby, 1 hour. Complete disaster. But Julia had said, "See you next Saturday, another chance." Russell drove home and immediately started researching, bought a doll, practiced for hours, watched videos until his eyes burned. Week 2. Russell arrived at 10, having barely slept. He had practiced. He was ready. Julia opened the door. "Come in." Same setup, 3 cribs, 3 babies. Julia is at the table. Your hour starts now. Russell waited. All 3 babies were awake but quiet. He approached the cribs. Can I hold one? If you can manage it. Russell picked up Lark carefully. She was so light. He supported her head properly. She looked up at him with dark eyes and made a slight noise. Talk to her, Julia said. Babies need to hear voices. Hi, Lark. I am Russell, and I am sorry I have not been here. I am here now, and I am going to try to be better. Lark blinked at him, then vomited all over his shirt. Russell froze. Lark started crying. He looked at Julia helplessly. Did I do something wrong? She has reflux, Julia said. It happens sometimes. Clean yourself up, bathroom. Russell cleaned up, changed Lark's clothes, fumbled through it, but managed. His hour was not half over, and he was already exhausted. Try feeding Sparrow, Julia said. Russell went through the process, heating the bottle, picking her up, and positioning her, this time slightly better. Sparrow ate slowly. He remembered to burp her. She spit up anyway, but less. Better, Julia said. Not praise exactly, but not criticism either. When his hour was up, Russell left feeling marginally less defeated. He had not failed this time. He could learn. He would learn for them. Week 13. Russell arrived at 10 sharp to find a note taped to Julia's door. In the hospital, do not come. His heart stopped. He knocked anyway. No answer. He called through the door. Nothing. He stood there for 10 minutes, panic rising before Temperance appeared on the stairs. She collapsed yesterday, Temperance said without preamble, passed out while feeding the babies. I took her to the hospital. They are keeping her for observation. The girls are with me, Temperance interrupted. And before you ask, no, you cannot see them. Julia's instructions were obvious. If anything happened to her, I am in charge, not you. Russell leaned against the wall. Is she okay? Severe exhaustion, malnutrition, dehydration. She has been skipping meals to make formula money stretch further. Temperance crossed her arms. You have been coming here for 3 months. Did you not notice she was starving herself? Russell had noticed. He had asked. Julia had shut him down. What hospital? I am not telling you that, Temperance said. She does not want to see you. Please, Russell said. I need to know she is okay. Temperance studied him. She is terrified, she finally said. She fears you will use it as leverage if she takes your help or accepts anything. That you will claim she is an unfit mother, or that you deserve more custody because you have been supporting her. She would rather starve than give you ammunition. The words hit like physical blows. I would never. Would you not? Temperance asked. Because from where Julia is standing, you are the man who betrayed her and destroyed her entire life. Why would she trust that you would not do it again? Russell had no answer. Temperance shook her head. She will be out in a few days. Stay away until she contacts you. Those are her rules. She left. Russell stood outside Julia's apartment for a long time. Finally went home. Spent the next 4 days unable to think about anything else. I called the hospital and was told they could not release patient information. I tried to hire a lawyer, but I stopped myself. That would only prove Julia right. On day 5, a text arrived from an unknown number. I am home. Come Saturday, same time. Saturday, Russell arrived at 10 to find Julia looking almost translucent. She had lost weight. She did not have to lose. Dark circles under her eyes, but she was home. The babies were back in their cribs. Everything looked normal, except for how clearly nothing was normal. Sit, Julia said. Her voice was tired but steady. Russell sat. Are you okay? The babies are fine, Julia said, not answering his actual question. Temperance took good care of them. They barely noticed I was gone. That is not what I asked. Julia looked at him directly. The hospital wants me to accept state aid, food assistance, housing vouchers, and childcare subsidies. They said if I do not, they will call child services, that I am neglecting my own health, and that makes me a risk to the girls. Russell's stomach dropped. Are you going to accept state aid? Julia laughed without humor. What choice do I have? I can either let the government help me, or let you help me, and at least the government does not come with emotional baggage. I was not offering money, Russell said carefully. You were thinking it, Julia said. I could see it on your face. The man who can solve everything with his wallet is trying to figure out how to make a deposit. I would actually accept. She was not wrong. Russell had been thinking exactly that. What do you want from me then? What can I actually do that will not make this worse? Julia was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "The hospital gave me an ultimatum. I need help, real help, not money, not anonymous donations, actual physical help with the babies. If I cannot demonstrate adequate support within 2 weeks, they will require supervised visits with the social worker. And if I cannot manage that," she stopped, swallowed, "they will place the girls temporarily with foster care while I recover." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. "They cannot do that," Russell said. "You are their mother. You love them. Love does not keep babies alive," Julia said flatly. "Food does, sleep does, adequate care does, and I am failing at all of those. So either I accept help or I lose them. Those are my options." Russell understood what she was not saying. "You want me to help?" "I do not want anything from you," Julia corrected, "but I need something, and since the only other person I have is Temperance, and she has her own family to care for, that leaves you. Unless you have got better things to do." "There is nothing better I could do," Russell said immediately. "Then here is how this works," Julia said. "You come 3 times a week, 2 hours each visit. Morning, 6 to 8 before you go to work. You help with morning routines, bottles, diapers, and putting them down for the first nap. Then you leave. No extended visits, no bonding time. You are here to provide practical help, not to play father." "Okay," Russell said. "And you do not bring anything," Julia continued. "No gifts, supplies, or groceries. You buy too much. You show up, you help with the babies, you leave. That is it." "Okay," Russell said again. "And if you miss once or are late even once, the deal is off, and you go back to 1 hour on Saturdays. Or nothing if I decide you are more troubled than you are worth." "I understand," Russell said. Julia looked at him suspiciously. "You are agreeing too easily." "Because I am grateful you are even considering this," Russell said honestly. "Because I know what it costs you to ask me for help. Because I will take any time with my daughters that you are willing to give." Julia's jaw tightened. "Do not make this about gratitude or fatherhood or any of that. This is about survival. I am using you as free labor because I have no other choice. That is all this is." "Okay," Russell said. "Stop saying okay," Julia snapped. "Stop being so agreeable. Argue with me. Tell me you deserve more. Tell me you have rights. Please give me a reason to send you away." Russell met her eyes. "I am not going to fight with you. You are drowning, and I am part of the reason why. If you allow me to keep you afloat, I will take it on whatever terms you set." Julia looked away. "I do not trust you. I know. You are going to use this to try to take them from me, to build some case that I am unfit and you are the better option." "I will not," Russell said. "I swear to you, I will not." "Your promises do not mean anything to me," Julia said. "You promised to love me. You promised forever. You promised a lot of things, and then you destroyed them all, so your swears are worthless." "Then judge me by my actions," Russell said. "Watch what I do, and if I ever give you reason to think I am trying to take them from you, end this immediately. I will walk away. I will sign away my rights. Whatever you want." Julia studied him. "Why? Why would you agree to that?" "Because they need you," Russell said. "They need their mother healthy, alive, and present. And if helping you means I stay in the background forever, it's fine as long as they have you." Something. Julia moved between them mechanically, face slack with exhaustion. Wren needs a bottle. Sparrow needs to be changed. Lark needs to be held. Russell took Lark. She was screaming, her face red and her tiny fists waving. He held her the way he had practiced, supporting her head, keeping her secure. Started walking, swaying the way the book said to do. Lark kept crying. Russell kept swaying. Julia dealt with Wren and Sparrow with the efficiency of someone who had done this 1,000 times. Russell just focused on Lark, keeping her safe and being there. After 10 minutes, Lark's cries diminished to whimpers. After 15, she quieted. After 20, she was asleep against his chest. Russell stood very still, afraid to move and wake her. Julia finished with the other 2, looked over and saw Lark sleeping. "Put her in the crib," she said. Slowly, Russell managed it. Lark stayed asleep. Julia looked at him with something that might have been respect. "Not bad. The 2 hours passed in a blur of bottles and diapers and crying and brief moments of quiet. When 8 arrived, all 3 babies were down for their morning nap. The apartment was not clean, but functional. Julia sat at the table looking dead on her feet. "Go back to sleep," Russell said. "I will let myself out." "You did okay," Julia said. It was the closest thing to praise she had ever given him. "I will be back on Wednesday," Russell said. "Same time." He left, drove to his job at the high school where he taught physics, taught classes in a daze. Came home, slept, woke up Tuesday, and did it all again. Wednesday, same routine. Russell showed up at 6, helped for 2 hours, and left. Julia barely spoke to him, but did not send him away either. Friday, same thing. By the end of that week, Russell had logged 6 hours with his daughters. 6 hours of being useful, present, and something other than the man who destroyed everything. He felt a flicker of hope, small but real. Months passed. Russell settled into the routine. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 to 8 in the morning. He had given up trying to keep track of time, counting weeks or marking progress. He just showed up, did what needed doing, and left when Julia said to go. The babies grew and started recognizing him. Wren would stop crying when he picked her up. Sparrow smiled when she saw him, an actual smile, not gas. Lark reached for him when he came through the door. Julia stayed distant, polite, functional, but never warm. She would thank him when he did something well and correct him when he messed up, but she never let her guard down, never gave him anything personal. Russell accepted it. This was not about him and Julia anymore. It was about 3 little girls learning to trust him, one bottle at a time. The high school where he taught noticed his exhaustion. His principal called him in. "Russell, you are doing good work here, but falling asleep during department meetings. Is everything okay at home?" "My mother died," Russell said. "It was true, if incomplete. I am still adjusting. Take some time if you need it," the principal said. "We can get a substitute." Russell shook his head. "I am fine. I will manage." He was barely managing. Russell was running on fumes between early mornings with the babies, full days of teaching, and his own life falling apart. But he did not miss a single morning, not once. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. 6 sharp. One Wednesday, Russell arrived to find Julia waiting at the door with an odd expression. "There is something I need to tell you," she said. Russell's stomach dropped. This was it. She was ending their arrangement. He had known it was coming, eventually. She would decide he was not trustworthy, or was not helping enough, or was helping too much. His mind raced through responses. Please, anything to make her reconsider. Julia said that the social worker came yesterday. Final check before they close my case. She saw the babies, saw the apartment, and asked me about support systems. I told her about you. Russell waited, did not breathe. She asked if you were reliable, showed up consistently, helped, or went through the motions. Julia paused. I told her you have not missed a single morning in 2 months, that you have never been late, that the babies are comfortable with you, that you have been, she stopped, looked away, that you have been dependable. Dependable. Coming from Julia, it meant everything. Is she closing the case? Russell asked. She is satisfied I have adequate support, Julia said, which means no more supervised visits and no more threat of foster care. They are leaving us alone. That is good, Russell said. That is really good. It is because of you, Julia said quietly. They would have taken them from me if you had not shown up or missed even once. So, she took. Russell nodded, not trusting his voice. Julia stepped back. Come in. They just woke up. Inside, the routine continued as usual. Bottles, diapers, and playing with the babies while Julia rested for a few minutes. But something had shifted. Some invisible wall had developed a crack. The following week, Julia started talking about small things. Wren rolled over yesterday, first time. Or Lark is teething, that is why she is so fussy. Information she did not have to share, but did anyway. Russell listened, responded, did not push for more, just accepted what Julia was willing to give. One Friday morning, Russell's phone rang during his time with the babies. I'm sorry, Russell said. I will make it up. Do not bother, Julia said coldly. I should have known you would find an excuse eventually. It is not an excuse, Russell said desperately. A student is in crisis. I am the only one who can help. I will come back tonight. I will spend extra time tomorrow. Just go, Julia said. We were fine before you showed up. We will be fine when you leave. Russell left, torn apart. Dealt with the crisis at school, talked the kid down, connected him with counseling, and stayed until the parents arrived. By the time he returned to Julia's apartment, it was afternoon. He knocked, but there was no answer. He tried calling. She did not pick up. I did not miss by choice, Russell said. There was an emergency. A kid was threatening suicide. I had to be there. There is always going to be something, Julia said. Always a reason why the babies are not the priority. Always some excuse why you cannot show up. I will not put them through that. I will not let them learn to count on you so that you can disappoint them. One emergency in 3 months, Russell said. One, and I am here now. I am standing here asking for my time with my daughters. They are not your daughters, Julia said. They are mine. You are just the man I let in occasionally. You can tell me I am done, but I will be here following Monday at 6 sharp. The Monday after, and every Monday until you physically prevent me from showing up. Because those girls deserve a father who does not quit when things get hard. And maybe I have not earned that title yet, but I will keep trying until I do. Julia stared at him. Is it showing up enough? No, Russell said. But it is all I have, so I am giving it, consistently, relentlessly, until you believe it, or until I die trying. Julia's hand. He had fought to stay when leaving would have been easier. Monday morning, 6 sharp, Russell was at the door. Julia opened it without a word, let him in. They worked in silence. At 8, as he was leaving, Julia said, the social worker also asked if you were on the birth certificates. Russell stopped. What did you tell her? That you were not, Julia said. I had left you off because I was unsure if you would stick around. Russell's chest ached. And now? Now I am considering it, Julia said carefully. Not because you deserve it, but because they deserve to have it documented who their father is in case something happens to me. In case they need medical history, she stopped. It is practical, not emotional. Understand? I understand, Russell said. Whatever you decide is fine. I am here either way. Julia nodded. We will see. The weeks continued. The babies grew. Started sitting up on their own, babbling. Wren was the loudest, constantly demanding attention. Sparrow was quieter, more observant. I fed, changed, and held them, and they would not stop, and I am so tired. I am exhausted and do not know how to do this anymore. Russell got all 3 babies out of their cribs. Somehow, I managed to arrange them on the couch with pillows as barriers. Sat between them, one hand on Sparrow, Lark on his lap, Wren leaning against his side. They quieted gradually, responding to his presence. When did you last eat? Russell asked Julia. I do not remember, Julia said. Yesterday, maybe. Is there food in the cabinet? Russell said. Eat something. I have got them. You have to leave at 8, Julia noted automatically. You have work. I am calling in sick, Russell said. Eat something, then sleep. I will stay until you wake up. You cannot. I can, Russell interrupted. And I am. For once, Julia, let someone help you without fighting. Julia looked at him, at the 3 babies who were calm in his presence, at the offer of help that came with no strings attached. Okay, she whispered. Okay. She made herself. She let go of the couch, looked directly at Russell, and walked 3 wobbling steps into his arms. Russell caught her, laughing with shock and joy, looked up at Julia. Julia was frozen, face unreadable. The moment stretched. Her first step, Temperance said, was breaking the tension. How wonderful. But Russell saw it, saw the pain flash across Julia's face. Wren's first steps had not been to her mother, they had been to him. Julia excused herself, went to the bathroom, and returned composed but distant. The party wrapped up quickly after that. When everyone left, Russell stayed to help finish cleaning. Julia worked in silence. Finally, he said, I am sorry. For what? Julia asked, scrubbing a plate. Her first steps were to me, and I know that hurt you. Julia's hands stilled. Do not apologize for things you did not control. Still, Russell said, I am sorry. Julia set the plate down and turned to face him. Do you know what the worst part is? I am glad she feels comfortable enough with you to do that. I am glad she is bonding with you. And I hate that. I am glad. I hate that. My daughters are learning to love you when you are the man who destroyed me." "I am not that man anymore," Russell said quietly. "Are you not?" Julia asked. "How do I know? How do I trust you will not wake up one day and decide this is too hard? Will you not meet someone new and decide we are inconvenient? That you will not repeat history?" "You cannot know," Russell said honestly. "I cannot prove a future that has not happened yet. All I can do is keep showing up, keep being here, keep being someone you can rely on." Julia said, "I do not want to depend on you," and her voice cracked. "I do not want my daughters to depend on you. I do not want any of this. I want to return to when it was just me and them, and I did not have to worry about whether you would still be here next week." "But I will be," Russell said. "I will be here next week, and the week after that." "You cannot promise that," Julia said. "I can," Russell said, "and I am. I am promising you right now. I am not going anywhere, not unless you tell me to leave and mean it." Julia looked at him, really looked at him. "I asked you to leave 3 times today," she said. "In my head, I'm watching you with them, seeing how happy they are with you. I wanted to tell you to get out, to stop confusing everything, but I did not. Do you know why?" Russell shook his head. "Because they need you," Julia said. "My daughters need their father, and as much as I hate admitting it, you have become that. You show up, you help, you love them. You are actually being a father. And it kills me that you figured out how to be that person only after you destroyed our marriage." "I was a coward before," Russell said. "I was so terrified of being poor again that I sabotaged everything good in my life. But Julia, losing you, losing them before I even knew they existed, it broke something in me, or fixed something. I do not know. All I know is that I am not that person anymore. I cannot be, not when I have 3 daughters who deserve better." Julia wiped her eyes. "You should leave now." "Okay," Russell said, and started gathering his things. "Not because I am angry," Julia added. "She stopped because I needed to think about what this was becoming and whether I could trust you. Just go, please." Russell left, walked down the stairs in a daze, and sat in his car for a long time before driving home. The following Monday, he showed up at 6 sharp. Julia opened the door and let him in without a word. They worked together in tense silence. At 8, as he was leaving, Julia said, "I am officially adding you to the birth certificates as their father." Russell stopped breathing. "Are you sure?" "No," Julia said honestly. "But they deserve to have it documented, and you have earned at least that much." "Thank you," Russell said. "I know what it costs you to do that." "Do not make me regret it," Julia said. It was a plea, not a threat. "I will not," Russell promised. "I swear to you, I will not." The next few weeks, something shifted. Julia started asking Russell to stay longer, sometimes an extra 30 minutes or an hour. She started telling him about the girl's milestones without him having to ask. Started accepting small things, his help in fixing a leaky faucet, his suggestion for a better formula brand, and his presence during a tough night when all 3 babies were sick. It was not forgiveness, it was not even friendship, but it was something, a tentative truce, a possibility. One morning, Russell arrived to find Julia's friend, Temperance, there. She pulled him aside while Julia was with the babies. "I do not like you," Temperance said bluntly. "I probably never will. You destroyed my best friend." "I know," Russell said. "I do not expect you to like me." "Good," Temperance said, "but I am watching you. I see how hard Julia is working to trust you. I know how those babies are starting to count on you. If you hurt them and disappoint her again, I will make sure you regret it. Understand?" "I understand," Russell said, "and I am grateful Julia has you looking out for her." Temperance studied him. "She is softening toward you. Did you know that? She tries to hide it, but I see it. She is starting to remember who you were before you became who you are. And that terrifies her because what if the person she is beginning to see is not real? What if it is just an act?" "It is not an act," Russell said. "Then prove it," Temperance said. "Keep proving it every day forever, because that is what it will take." Time moved forward. The babies learned to walk. All 3, within weeks of each other, started saying simple words. Mama was first always. Russell waited for data, but it did not come. He did not push it. Julia smiled occasionally, genuine smiles, not the brittle ones she had worn like armor. She sometimes laughed when the babies did something funny, and the sound was like sunlight breaking through clouds. Russell fell in love with his daughters more every day. The way Wren would scrunch her nose when she was thinking. The way Sparrow would pat his face with her tiny hands. The way Lark would curl up against him and fall asleep like he was the safest place in the world. He fell in love with watching Julia be their mother, too. The way she was patient, even when exhausted. The way she sang to them in a voice that was rusty but beautiful. She checked on them 100 times while they slept to ensure they breathed. He did not tell her any of this. Kept it locked away because this was not about him and Julia. This was about 3 little girls learning to navigate a world where they had 2 parents who loved them but could not love each other. One evening, Russell had started staying until the babies went down for the night, helping with dinner and bath time. Julia asked him to stay after they were asleep. "We need to talk," she said, and Russell's stomach dropped. They sat at the small table. Julia took a long breath. "The babies will start asking questions soon about why we do not live together, why Daddy leaves every night, and why Mama and Daddy do not act like Temperance and her husband." "What do you want to tell them?" Russell asked. "The truth," Julia said. "Age-appropriate versions, but the truth. You are their father, I am their mother, and we love them but are not together." "Okay," Russell said. "But I need to know," Julia continued. "Are you in this forever, or is there going to be a point where you meet someone new and we become an obligation instead of a priority? Because I can handle that, but they cannot. So, I need to know now before they are old enough to understand heartbreak." Russell met her eyes. "There is no one else. There will not be anyone else. This is my life now. Those 3 girls are my life. And you?" He stopped, started again. "You are their mother, which means you are part of my life, whether we are together or not. So no, I am not going anywhere. This is it for me." Julia looked at him for a long moment. "I believe you," she said quietly. "And that is the most terrifying thing I have ever admitted." "Why terrifying?" Russell asked. "Because if I believe you and you are lying, it will destroy me all over again," Julia said. "But if I believe you and you are telling the truth, I must figure out what that means. How to co-parent with the man who broke my heart. How can I let you be close to them without letting you get too close to me? How to forgive without forgetting. How do I move forward when still in the wreckage of what we were?" "You do not have to figure it all out now," Russell said. "We can take it one day at a time, one morning at a time, whatever pace you need." Julia nodded. "Okay, but Russell, thank you for showing up, staying, and being what they need. It does not fix what you did, but it matters anyway." It was not forgiveness, but it was acknowledgement. Julia saw him as more than just the man who had hurt her. It was progress. Time passed differently now, not in weeks or months, but in milestones. The first time Sparrow said "da," the first time Lark threw a tantrum, the first time Wren insisted on dressing herself, she came out wearing mismatched everything and enormous pride. Russell was there for all of it, had been there so consistently for so long that his presence became routine, expected. The girls would watch for him in the morning, faces lighting up when he walked through the door. They would drag him into their games, stories, and world. Julia watched it happen, watched her daughters love their father, watched Russell be patient and present, and everything he had not been with her. It created a strange ache. Not jealousy exactly, but something adjacent to it. One morning, Russell arrived to find Julia awake, making breakfast instead of grabbing whatever was fastest. The girls were eating cereal. The apartment was tidier than usual. Julia had put on real clothes instead of just pajamas. "Special occasion?" Russell asked. "I have a job interview," Julia said at the symphony. "They are hiring for a session violinist position. It is only part-time, but it is actual music work. I cannot believe they even considered me after I disappeared for so long." "That is amazing," Russell said. "When?" 9:30. "Temperance is coming to watch the girls. I will be back by noon." Julia paused. "Unless you wanted to stay. I know it is past your usual time, but if you could—" "Of course," Russell said immediately. "Stay as long as you need. I will call in to school." Julia looked at him strangely. "You would do that? Call in sick for me?" In a heartbeat, Russell said. This is important. You should go without worrying about them. Something shifted in Julia's expression. Thank you, she said quietly. She left. Russell spent the morning with 3 busy toddlers who suddenly became mobile and opinionated. He made them lunch, got them down for naps, cleaned the apartment because it needed it, and he could. Julia returned at 1, glowing. I got it, she said, the position. I start next week. That is incredible, Russell said, and meant it. Seeing Julia come back to life piece by piece meant more than anything. Over the next few months, Julia started working. Just 8 hours a week at first, then 12. Russell adjusted his schedule to help. Came earlier some mornings, stayed later. Whatever worked. The girls grew, started preschool part-time, made friends, and became tiny people with opinions, preferences, and personalities that astounded both their parents daily. Julia started looking less exhausted, talking about music with the same passion she had had years ago, and seeming like herself again. Russell fell in love with her all over again, watching her return to life, rebuild what he had destroyed, and be strong, fierce, and beautiful in ways that had nothing to do with him. He did not tell her, kept it buried because Julia was learning to trust him as a co-parent, and he would not jeopardize that by complicating things with feelings she did not share. One evening, after the girls were asleep, Julia asked him to stay. They had been doing this sometimes, talking after the babies went down, mostly about logistics and schedules, sometimes about bigger things. Temperance thinks I am crazy, Julia said without preamble. She thinks I have forgiven you too easily, that I am setting myself up to get hurt again. Have you? Russell asked. Forgiven me? Julia was quiet for a long time. I do not know. I have stopped hating you. I have started trusting you. But forgiveness? I do not know if that is possible. You cannot forgive someone for nearly destroying you. No, Russell agreed. You cannot. But I can appreciate who you have become, Julia continued. I acknowledge that you are a good father and have kept every promise you have made to me and the girls you have been. She paused. Dependable, constant, and real. I am trying, Russell said. I know, Julia said, and it is strange because the man I married never attempted. He just was. He was good, kind, and faithful without effort. But you have to work at it. I can see you working on being the person they need. That makes it more valuable because you choose it every day. Russell did not know what to say to that. Julia stood and walked to the window. They will turn 3 soon. 3 years since I gave birth to them alone. 3 years since I decided to protect them from their own father. And here we are, co-parenting, being civil, almost being friends. Is that what we are? Russell asked. Friends? Julia turned to face him. I do not know what we are. We are not enemies anymore. We are not strangers. We are bound together by 3 little girls who need us both. So, we are something. Something I do not have a name for. That is okay, Russell said. We do not need a name for it. Julia nodded. The girls asked me yesterday if you were going to live here, Ren specifically. She said she always wanted you to stay for breakfast, stories, and bedtime. Russell's chest tightened. What did you tell her? That you have your own home, that you visit because you love them, that some families look different than others, and that is okay. Julia paused. She asked if you loved me, too. The question hung in the air. Russell could lie, should lie, keep things simple. But Julia deserved the truth. What did you say? I said I did not know, Julia answered. Because I do not. Do you love me? Russell stood, walked to where she stood, and looked her in the eyes. Yes, I love you. I never stopped loving you, but that does not mean anything because love was not our problem. Trust was, respect was, and I destroyed both of those. So what I feel does not matter. It matters, Julia said quietly. It might not change anything, but it matters. What do you think? Russell asked. About me? Julia took a long breath. I feel confused. I feel angry sometimes at how easy it would be to fall back into loving you. I feel scared that you will disappoint me again if I let myself feel anything. I feel grateful for who you have become and furious that you could not be that person when we were married. I feel, she stopped. I overthink and do not know what to do with any of it. You do not have to do anything with it, Russell said. We can just be whatever we are right now, parents who are learning to work together, people who care about each other's well-being, because it affects our daughters. That is enough. Is it? Julia asked. Is it enough for you? It has to be, Russell said, because asking for more is unfair. Not after what I did. Julia looked at him for a long moment. Then she did something she had not done in over 3 years. She touched his face, gentle, tentative, her palm against his cheek. She whispered, I do not know how to trust you with my heart again, but I am starting to trust you with theirs. That may be where we begin. Russell stood very still. Where do we start? I do not know, Julia admitted, but I am tired of being angry. I am tired of holding on to what happened, as if it were armor. I am tired of pretending that watching you be their father does not make me remember why I loved you in the first place. She dropped her hand, stepped back. I am not saying I forgive you. I am not saying we can be what we were, but we can figure out what we are now if you want to. I want to, Russell noted immediately. Whatever that looks like, however long it takes, I want to try. Julia nodded. Okay, then we will try. Slowly, carefully, with no expectations, just trying. It was not a reunion, it was not forgiveness, but it was a possibility, and the possibility was more than Russell had dared hope for. The girl's 3rd birthday arrived. The party was bigger this time, preschool friends and neighbors, and it was a small celebration that felt like joy instead of survival. Russell helped set up and stayed the whole day. Julia let him. When the girls blew out their candles and 3 cakes because they could not agree on one flavor, they looked at both their parents with identical expressions of pure happiness, as if their world was complete. After everyone left and the girls were asleep, Julia and Russell cleaned up in comfortable silence. When they finished, Julia said, Stay, just tonight. Sleep on the couch so you are here when they wake up. They would love that. Russell stayed and woke at dawn to 3 little girls climbing on him, giggling. Julia made breakfast. They ate together like a family. It was not perfect, it was not fixed, but it was real, and real was enough. 3 weeks later, on an ordinary Wednesday morning, Russell arrived at 6 to find Julia standing at the door with an expression he could not read. We need to really talk, she said, not about schedules or the girls. About us, about whether there even is an us. Tonight, after they are asleep. This decides everything. Russell nodded, his chest tight with anticipation and fear. Okay, he spent the day in a fog, teaching his physics classes on autopilot, his mind replaying every moment with Julia over the past months. Her tentative smiles, the way she had started trusting him with small things, the kiss that had felt like a miracle. He was terrified of ruining it, saying the wrong thing and losing the fragile possibility they had built. But he was more terrified of not trying. Russell arrived early that evening. Julia opened the door. The babies were already asleep. She had made coffee. They sat across from each other at her small kitchen table. Julia wrapped her hands around her mug. When you first came back, all I felt was rage. Pure burning rage. You destroyed everything, and then dared to appear like you deserved to be there. I did not deserve anything, Russell said. No, you did not, Julia agreed. But you kept showing up anyway. Even when I was cruel, you just kept coming back. She took a sip of coffee. I told myself you would get tired of the early mornings and the crying and realize it was too hard and disappear again. I was waiting for it. I know, Russell said. But you did not leave, Julia continued. Years of never missing a morning, of showing up sick, exhausted, but showing up. And somewhere in those years, I stopped waiting for you to leave. I stopped seeing you as the man who betrayed me, and started seeing you as just Russell, their father. Someone I could depend on, and that terrified me more than the hate did. Why? Russell asked. Because hate is safe. Hate is armor. But trusting you leaves me vulnerable, and I have spent years building walls to ensure I would never be susceptible to you again. Russell's throat was tight. Are you saying you want to keep those walls up? I do not think I can anymore. And I do not know if that is healing or stupidity. She stood up and started pacing. I need complete honesty. Why did you really betray me? The real reason. Russell had asked himself this question 1,000 times. He said, "I was ashamed of loving you, embarrassed that you had seen me at my absolute lowest. When I became successful, I wanted to erase all of that. But you were living proof that I had been weak, so I tried to erase you." Julia flinched. "That is honest." "The truth is, I was a coward," Russell said. "I could not stand being loved by someone who knew all my failures. Just the fact that you had seen me weak made me want to destroy what we had." "And now," Julia asked, "you have spent years having these 3 little girls see you fail constantly. Why does that not make you want to run?" Russell thought about it. "Because they need me to be human, but you needed me to be strong, and I could not stand that you knew I was not. I punished you for seeing the real me." "That is incredibly messed up," Julia said. "I know." Julia stopped pacing. "Here is what I need to know. If we tried again, would you hate me for seeing you struggle? Because I have watched you be terrible at parenting. I have seen all of it. So if we did this, you would not have to decide later. I have seen too much." "I will not," Russell said. "That version of me is dead. And I am not saying that to manipulate you. I am saying it because it is true." Julia crossed her arms. "Prove it, right now. Tell me something that makes you feel weak, something you would usually hide." Russell took a breath. "I am terrified every single day that I am not enough. Those 3 girls will grow up and realize their father is a mediocre man who got lucky once. I am terrified that you will wake up one day and realize you have wasted years letting me back in. I am frightened that I am fundamentally broken and that no amount of therapy or time or trying will ever fix it." His voice cracked. "I am terrified that everything I am is just performance, that there is no authentic self underneath, and I am most afraid that you will see all that and confirm that I was right to be ashamed." Silence. Julia stared at him. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for trusting me with that." "So, what now?" Russell asked. Julia sat back down. "I want to try. It is not what we were. That is dead, but maybe something new, something built on who we actually are." Hope blazed in Russell's chest. "Are you sure?" "No," Julia admitted. "I am terrified, but I am also tired of being alone. Tired of co-parenting with someone I still have feelings for while pretending I do not." She reached across the table and took his hand. "But we do this my way, slowly, with rules. And the second you make me regret this, I end it. Understand?" "I understand," Russell said. "Whatever rules you need." Julia nodded. "Okay, then we try." "I do not know how to do this," Julia admitted. "I do not know how to date the father of my children." "Neither do I," Russell said. "So we figure it out together." They stayed up talking until midnight about how they would structure this, about what they would tell the girls. The next morning, he arrived as usual. Julia opened the door with a shy smile. "Hi," Russell said back. As Russell was leaving, Julia walked him to the door. "So, we are doing this." "We are doing this," Russell confirmed. "It is going to be messy," Julia warned. "I am going to have moments where I doubt everything, where I remember what happened in panic." "I know," Russell said, "and I will be here through all of it." Julia looked up at him. "Can I try something?" "Anything," Russell said. She leaned up and kissed him, quick, tentative. The world did not end. Russell kissed her back carefully. When they broke apart, Julia was crying. "Why are you crying?" Russell asked. "Because I thought I would never feel this again," Julia said. "But I just kissed you, and instead of feeling scared, I felt hope." The following weeks were strange and wonderful. They went on actual dates. They talked constantly. There were challenging moments. Julia had a panic attack during dinner when Russell mentioned a trip. "You are going away. Just overnight for work, but I can cancel." "No," Julia interrupted. "I need to learn that you going away does not mean you are not coming back. So go. And when you come back, exactly when you say you will, it will help me believe." Russell went, called her multiple times, and returned exactly when promised. Julia cried when he walked through the door on time. Small steps, small victories. Months later, Julia asked Russell to stay the night. Not for anything physical, to be there. "So the girls wake up, and we are both here." Russell stayed, slept on the couch. Woken to 3 little girls jumping on him at dawn. Again, Ren demanded, "Daddy, stay again." Julia looked at Russell. He mouthed, "Your call." She nodded. "Okay, Daddy can stay again." One night, months into their second attempt, Julia sat beside him. "I need to tell you something. I am falling in love with you again. Not the old you, but the actual man who shows up daily. I am falling in love with who you have become, and it terrifies me." "What if this is real?" Russell asked quietly. "What if I really have changed?" "I do not know if I believe in second chances," Julia said. "You have given me thousands of them," Russell pointed out. "Every morning I showed up, and you let me in, which was a second chance. This is different. This is a chance to be mine again, and I do not know if I can survive losing you twice." Russell took her hand. "You will not lose me. Julia, I love you. I love the woman you are now, stronger and fiercer and more sure of yourself. I love the mother you have become, all of it." Julia kissed him deeply. When she pulled back, she said, "We might actually make it. Not right now, not smoothly, but eventually." "We will be," Russell said, "whatever it takes." That afternoon, Julia pulled him aside. "Let's tell them. Let them see us being affectionate. Let them know that Mama and Daddy are figuring things out." They kissed, and 3 little voices erupted in giggles from behind them. "You kissing?" Sparrow said, delighted. "Are you and Daddy friends now?" Wren asked. Julia looked at Russell. Together they said, "We are trying to be." "Good," Lark said decisively. "I like when Daddy stays." Julia leaned against Russell. "We are really doing this." "We are," Russell confirmed, "and it is going to be beautiful." The months that followed were a delicate dance of hope and hesitation. Julia and Russell moved forward, their relationship a patchwork of small moments stitched together with cautious trust. They were not the couple they had been before. That life was gone, burned away by betrayal and time. But they were building something new, grounded in who they were now. 2 people shaped by pain, bound by their daughters, and willing to try. Russell kept his promise, showing up every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 sharp. He helped with the morning chaos of bottles, diapers, and toddler tantrums, his movements more confident now, his presence a steady anchor in the cramped apartment. The girls, Wren, Sparrow, and Lark, had grown into their personalities. Wren was bold, always the first to demand attention, her voice loud and her will fierce. Sparrow was quieter, her observant eyes taking in everything before she acted. Lark was the dreamer, constantly climbing, always reaching for something just out of grasp. Russell loved them fiercely, and they loved him back. Their small hands tugging at his shirt, their voices calling for Daddy. Julia watched this bond grow, stirring a complex mix of emotions. She was grateful for the father Russell had become, but every giggle, every hug the girls gave him reminded her of what she had lost. She carried the weight of their past, the memory of his betrayal like a shadow that never entirely faded. Yet, she also saw the man he was becoming, the one who stayed through her panic, listened without pushing, and showed up even when she made it hard. It was confusing, this pull between love and fear, between wanting to trust and needing to protect herself. One evening, after the girls were asleep, Julia and Russell sat at the kitchen table, a routine that had become their own. The apartment was quiet. The only sound was the refrigerator's hum and the occasional creak of the building. Julia sipped her coffee, her fingers tracing the rim of the mug. "I have been thinking," she said, her voice soft but deliberate, "about us, about what this is." Russell looked at her, his heart thudding. "Okay, tell me." "I am scared every day," Julia admitted. "Afraid that I am making a mistake by letting you in. Worried that I am setting the girls up for heartbreak. Scared that I am setting myself up for it. But I am also tired of being scared. I want to believe this is real, that you are real. We can be something more than co-parents." Russell reached for her hand, then stopped, unsure if she would welcome it. "I want that too," he said. "More than anything, but only if you are ready." Julia nodded. "I am, but I need something from you, something big." Russell braced himself. "Anything." "I need you to move closer," Julia said. "Not into this apartment, not yet, but closer, somewhere in this neighborhood, somewhere the girls can see you without me feeling like you are a visitor from another world. Your penthouse is too far, too different. It reminds me of everything that broke us. If we are going to do this, I need you to be part of their world, our world." Russell exhaled, the request sinking in. It was not just about geography, it was about commitment, about leaving behind the life that had made him ashamed of her. "I will do it," he said. "I will start looking tomorrow." Julia studied him, searching for any hint of hesitation. "You mean it?" "I do," Russell said. "I want to be where you and the girls are. I want to be part of this, not just a guest." The following week, Russell began searching for a place. He found a small house a few blocks from Julia's apartment, nothing like his sleek penthouse, but close enough to walk to and be there in minutes. He sold his expensive car, which had meant nothing, and bought something practical that fit the neighborhood. When he told Julia, she did not smile, but her eyes softened. "That is a start," she said. "A good start." Their relationship grew in small, deliberate steps. They went on more dates, simple ones, coffee shops, and walks in the park with the girls. They talked about everything, the past, the future, the messy present. Julia opened up about her time alone, the fear of losing the girls, and the nights she had cried herself to sleep in the shelter. Russell listened, his guilt a quiet ache, but he did not try to fix it with words or promises. He just showed up, day after day. One Saturday, they took the girls to a local playground. Wren ran ahead, fearless, climbing the slide before Russell could catch up. Sparrow sat in the sand, methodically building a castle, while Lark clung to Julia's hand, watching everything with wide eyes. Russell pushed Wren on the swing, her laughter filling the air. Julia sat on a bench, holding Lark, and for a moment they looked like any other family. A passerby smiled at them. "You have got a beautiful family," she said. Julia froze, then nodded. "Thank you." That night, Julia brought it up after the girls were in bed. "That woman at the park called us a family. It felt strange, good but strange." Russell nodded. "It felt right to me, like that is what we are becoming." Julia looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Are we a family?" "I think so," Russell said carefully. "Not like before, but something new. Something we are building together." Julia was quiet for a long time. "I want that," she said finally, "but I need time. I need to know this will not fall apart when it gets hard. I need to know you will stay, even when I push you away or doubt you." "I will," Russell said. "I am not going anywhere, not ever." Julia reached for his hand, her touch tentative but real. "Okay," she whispered. "Let us keep building." The girl's third birthday had been a turning point, but the months after were the real work. Russell moved into the house nearby, a modest place with a small yard where the girls could play. He brought them over on weekends, letting them run wild while Julia practiced her violin for her new symphony job. She was thriving, her music filling the apartment with a passion Russell had not heard in years. He loved watching her play, loved seeing her come alive again. One evening, Julia invited him to stay for dinner, not as a co-parent, but as something more. They cooked a simple meal of pasta and vegetables together, and the girls giggled as they helped stir the sauce. After dinner, they sat on the floor, playing with blocks, the girls climbing over both of them. Wren looked up at Russell. "Daddy, are you going to live with us?" Russell glanced at Julia, who gave a slight nod. "Maybe one day," he said, "if Mama says it is okay." Julia smiled genuinely, not the guarded one she used to wear. "We will see," she said, "but for now, this is good. This is enough." Russell felt a warmth spread through him, a sense of home he had not known since their early days together. It was not perfect, but it was theirs, and that was more than he had ever hoped for. The new house felt like a promise, fragile but tangible. Russell had settled into the modest home a few blocks from Julia's apartment, its small yard a haven for Wren, Sparrow, and Lark. The girls loved it, running through the grass, chasing each other while Russell watched, his heart swelling with a joy he hadn't known he could feel. Julia would bring them over on weekends, sometimes staying to play, sometimes leaving to practice her violin. The symphony job was no longer just a job. It was her lifeline, a piece of herself she had reclaimed. Russell and Julia's relationship grew steadier, but not without cracks. They were learning to navigate this new version of themselves, a couple bound by love for their daughters and a shared history they couldn't erase. Julia still had moments of doubt, moments where the past surged like a wave, threatening to pull her under. Russell saw it in her eyes, the way they would harden when he got too close, the way she would pull back after a moment of warmth. He didn't push. He had learned that trust was not demanded but earned, one quiet moment at a time. One Saturday, Russell was in his yard, pushing Lark on a small swing he had built. Wren and Sparrow were digging in a patch of dirt, their laughter mixing with the hum of a distant lawnmower. Julia sat on the porch steps, watching, her violin case beside her. She had a solo performance that evening, her first in years. "You nervous?" Russell asked, glancing over. "A little," Julia admitted. "It has been a while since I played for a crowd that big." "You will be incredible," Russell said. "You always are." Julia smiled, but it was tight, guarded. "Thanks." She stood, brushing off her jeans. "I should go. Rehearse a bit before tonight." "Want me to come?" Russell asked. "Bring the girls? They would love to see you play." Julia hesitated, then shook her head. "Not this time. It is too late for them, and I need to focus. Next time." "Okay," Russell said, hiding his disappointment. "Break a leg." That evening, after putting the girls to bed in his small spare room, Russell sat in his living room, the silence heavy. He wanted to be there, to see Julia shine, but he respected her boundaries. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through old photos, and found one from their wedding day. Julia held flowers from his mother's garden in that consignment dress, smiling at him like he was her whole world. He closed the app, his chest aching. They were not that couple anymore, but they were something. He held on to that. Julia's performance was a triumph. She texted him late that night, a simple message. "It went well. Thanks for watching the girls." He replied, "Proud of you. Always." The next morning, she came to pick them up, looking lighter, her eyes bright with a spark he hadn't seen in years. The girls ran to her, babbling about their night at Daddy's house. Julia listened, nodding, then looked at Russell. "You built them a swing?" "Yeah," he said. "They love it." She nodded with a small smile. "That is good." The weeks passed, their routine solidifying. Russell was at Julia's apartment every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, helping with mornings. On weekends, the girls often came to his house, their toys scattering across his once pristine floors. Julia started joining them more, staying for meals, sometimes lingering after the girls were asleep. They talked about small things, the girls' preschool, Julia's music, and Russell's students. But the bigger things lingered unspoken, a tension neither wanted to break. One evening, after a particularly chaotic dinner where Wren spilled juice and Lark refused to eat anything but bread, Julia and Russell sat on his couch, exhausted but laughing. The girls were asleep upstairs and the house was quiet. Julia said, leaning back, "I never thought we would get here. Sitting together, laughing like this." "Neither did I," Russell said. "I thought you would hate me forever." "I did," Julia said, her voice soft but honest. "Sometimes I still do, but it is less now. It is different." Russell nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Julia turned to him. "I have been thinking about moving in. Not right away, but maybe soon. The girls love it here, and it is closer to the symphony. But I am scared, Russell. Afraid it will feel too much like before, and I will lose myself again." Russell took a breath. "You will not lose yourself. You are stronger now, and I am not the man I was. I will not let you disappear." Julia looked at him, searching his face. "You mean that?" "I do," he said. "If you move in, we do it your way, your rules. We make sure you have space for your music and your life. The girls need you whole, and so do I." Julia's eyes glistened. "Okay, let us talk about it more. Not tonight, but soon." Russell nodded, his heart racing. That was enough for now. The following month, they started planning. Julia was cautious, insisting on keeping her apartment until she was sure. Russell agreed, helping her map out logistics, how they would share the space, and how the girls would adjust. They told the girls together, sitting them on the living room floor. Wren clapped, Sparrow asked if she could bring her stuffed owl, and Lark hugged Julia tightly. It felt right, but fragile, like a house of cards waiting for a breeze. One night, as they were packing Julia's apartment, she found an old photo album. Pictures of their early days, their tiny riverside apartment, their wedding. She sat on the floor, flipping through it, Russell beside her. "This feels like a lifetime ago," she said. "It was," Russell said. "We are different people now. Better, I hope." Julia looked at him. "I think so, but I am still scared." "I know," Russell said. "I am too, but we are doing this together." The move happened slowly, over weeks. Julia brought her things in stages. Her violin first, then clothes, then the girls' toys. The house started to feel like theirs, not just his. The girls adapted quickly, their laughter filling every corner. Julia's music echoed through the house, and her practice sessions were a soundtrack to their new life. Russell found himself humming her melodies, even at work, his students teasing him about his newfound cheer. One evening, after the girls were in bed, Julia and Russell stood in the kitchen, washing dishes side by side. The domesticity of it struck him, how far they had come. Julia bumped his shoulder playfully. "You are not bad at this," she said. "Dishes?" Russell asked, grinning. "Or this whole thing," Julia said, gesturing vaguely. This family." Russell set down the plate he was holding. "I am trying, every day." "I know," Julia said, "and I see it. I see you." They stood there, the sink dripping, the house quiet except for the faint sound of the girls' soft snores upstairs. Julia reached for his hand. "We are going to be okay," she said. "Not perfect, but okay. Maybe even good." Russell squeezed her hand. "Good is more than I deserve." Julia shook her head. "Stop that. You are not that man anymore. We are building something real. Let us keep it that way." They kissed, slow and sure, the weight of their past still there but lighter now, overshadowed by the life they created. As always, the girls woke them at dawn, demanding pancakes and stories. Russell and Julia moved through the morning together, a team, their rhythm imperfect but strong. It was not a fairy tale but theirs, and that was enough.